Greetings and salutations, everybody. Well, I've made it, almost, to the end of Scream Week. For those who are new, I like to make these little videos about films I enjoy and want to share. If you like what you see, please consider subscribing and hitting that little bell icon to get notifications for when I put up new content, which is typically once or twice a week. Now that all that's out of the way, I say almost because I want to put up a very non-spoiler review for Scream 6, leaving my final thoughts on the franchise as a whole for this weekend, where I can go into a little bit more detail about Scream 6. Also, when I said typically once or twice a week, for you new people, yeah, typically. But if I'm, and usually it's also just films that I like, but in the case of franchise revisits or checking out a franchise as a whole for the first time, I'll often put up a video about an installment that maybe I didn't care for that much, and in the case of Scream Week, I decided to put up all these videos over the course of 1 week, so much more than once or twice a week. If you've been kind of following along, I revisited the Scream franchise with a video about Part 1, which of course I loved, Parts 2 and 3, which I didn't, and Part 4 and 5, which I felt were a great step in the right direction. For this video, though, I'm going to do some very non-spoiler coverage on the latest in the franchise, Scream 6, in 2023. Just got out of the theater. This has been an interesting build-up, revisiting all the titles I'd seen before, especially since Part 1 I'd seen the most. Parts 2 and 3 and 4, I'd only seen those one time in the theater originally and had never went back. And of course, both Part 5 and of course Part 6 I hadn't even seen. So heading in to see Part 6 on Thursday night, I'd only seen the teaser trailer once, the main trailer once, and it had been a while, so I didn't even remember from those trailers some of the characters that were showing up in it, until I saw the poster and I saw like one or two of them on there. So like I say, this will be free of all spoilers, so it may be a little bit vanilla and a little bit quick, but I just want to make sure that nothing is spoiled in this one, so I will only reference anything seen in the trailer, and will only display footage from that as well. So, what is this latest installment about? Well, here's a quick little synopsis. In the next installment, the survivors of the Ghostface killings leave Woodsboro behind and start a fresh chapter in New York City. As I said, I felt that Part 4 and 5 were really headed in the right direction, which actually got me more interested in checking out Part 6. I was hoping they would continue to pull away from that super self-aware kind of aspect that they had in Parts 2 and 3 that went a little bit too far, I felt. It was a little bit too distracting, and continue with that return to feel of the original, like I feel that they did with Part 4 and 5, and especially to continue to move in this new direction and make it feel fresh by concentrating a little bit more on that new direction and those new characters as well. My verdict, they did. They succeeded, and, at least in my opinion anyway. So some quick items just to touch on here. First, great beginning. They mixed things up with the actors, I didn't even know were going to appear in the film at all. And they even changed up the usual beginning, just enough while still staying true to what we're used to seeing in the beginnings of the other films with the phone call and everything. As for the setting, New York City was a great choice. They even make a little tiny call out to Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, so that's cool to see that. The time frame was good as well, because this takes place around Halloween, so it gives an excuse for masked people, even Ghostface masked people, to be kind of wandering around and giving us some jumps and some misdirection. As far as the carryover characters from previous installments, not everybody from the previous installments show up, which I think that's a good thing. They went a bit light on that, and they concentrated on these new characters and what their lives have become after that last film, and yet they still found some very natural ways to have various callbacks throughout it. Actually, a lot of callbacks. The kills were very violent and bloody. They all worked. It was really scary what was going on. You actually cared about those characters. The mystery was great as well. They really kept me guessing the entire time, and even when we finally get the reveal, though initially that first part of the reveal I wasn't quite sure I was going to be on board with that, once the dialogue kind of continued through and they explained that motive a bit, it made a lot more sense. I was completely on board. Now, as for the performances, I'd recently listened to an episode of Armchair Expert podcast with Jenna Ortega, and after seeing her role in Scream 5, which is very small, and then seeing her in Wednesday, of course, rewatching Scream 5, I really was left wanting more of her. And especially after, hearing her on the podcast and getting to know a little bit more about her. And in this one, we get it. We get a lot more of her in this. She's much more of a main character, and it was absolutely great to see her get much, much more screen time. She did an absolutely amazing job. Everybody did, but it was really great to see more of her in this one compared to the previous installment. As for the ending, again, no spoilers, but things are wrapped up very nicely. You know, we could end it here, and I would be fine with that. You know, I would say, hey, out of those 6 installments, 4 of them I would definitely watch again, so that's really great for any franchise to want to rewatch that many of them, in my opinion. But with any good horror film, we do have some seeds planted, which they may be able to use to grow another film one day. Final verdict, it was great. I would only put this second to the original because it's the original. You know, it's hard to break through that nostalgia of having been there in the theater and when the first one came out and watched it and rewatched it over all these years. It's hard to break through that, but I could see somebody checking out the franchise as a whole for the first time actually liking this one the best, especially if they're just younger and they feel like they can connect more with a story set in 2023 than they can in, you know, for something set in 1996. You know, I generally felt like this is a great story, you know, great mystery, kills, gore, performances, and we even for the first time in this entire franchise as a whole, we get a post-credit screen, little after credits scene. Some would say that scene is vital and kind of represents the entire franchise. So if one were so inclined, sit through to the end, check out that after credits scene. It's probably the most important thing of the entire film. That's just my opinion. If you know that ending, that post-credits thing, don't spoil it, but leave a little comment saying what you thought. Good, bad, extremely important. You know what I'm talking about. Anyways, that's my quick, basic, spoiler-free review of Scream 6. I'm going to save any additional detail for the final Scream Week video, which will be coming up sometime this weekend, just to give a basic, you know, franchise overall review, which, you know, there may be some spoilers in that. So just be prepared for that. So go ahead and check out Scream 6 and then come and check out that video this weekend. And so per usual, you know, thanks for checking out this video and for sticking around to the end. Be sure to subscribe and hit that little bell icon to get notifications when I put up that final video, or maybe it won't be final. Maybe we'll get another film in a year or two and I'll end up doing another one of these for Scream. But anyways, thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next one.